All right, y'all. So we have here the astrological chart of the United States of America, signed July 4th, 1776. Now, it's been well documented that that declaration was signed somewhere between 4:50 p.m. and 5:10 p.m. in Philadelphia. Shout out to Philly, city of brotherly love. Now, in that case, this would give the United States a Sagittarius rising, okay? And just because I'm a Virgo moon, Virgo rising, and I know how people think, and I've gotten this question before, the reason astrology is mathematical in nature. I've gotten the question, some people think, how do we know where the positions of like Pluto and these things were if they weren't discovered yet? Because everything is mathematical and these planets move in cycles. Once discovered and the orbits understood, we can track it and therefore, track it forward and track it back. All right. I just had to get out the way for anyone who's curious. All right. So now for anyone who's taken my Astro Essentials course knows that I particularly, tell people when you starting off with reading the chart, focus on the big three: the sun, moon, and rising, but more importantly, the sun and moon. Now, I go with a mode of thought that the moon, the relationship between the sun and moon is important because, in essence, the moon is the inner ego or the self identity, depending on how you look at it. And the moon, in a way, molds the outer ego. So we are here because it's all duality, and we have a subconscious desire to actualize or express outwardly. And it's so through the sun sign, we express that uniqueness, but it stems from an inner desire related to that sign. And this goes on a personal level, and as we're about to do, apply it on the level of a nation. So starting with the moon in Aquarius is very interesting, okay? And what makes this interesting, even more interesting, is because America is a sun in Cancer. Now, on the surface, we see that America is a very security-driven place. It is one where you have a certain patriotism or pride for not necessarily the whole thing, but really where you're from, right? Your roots. And then when we add it to the Sagittarius rising, what we call America, a melting pot, right? And that's what Sag is, this huge pot of different cultures and all of that. So with America being a Cancer sun, there's a desire for security and expansion around Cancer fourth house things. Now, what I was saying before about assessing the moon in relationship to that is how it's played out. If you look at it, what is Aquarius? Aquarius is scientific, it's technology. In a sense, it can be misunderstood or ahead of the curve. And at some point, America became and kind of always was they've always kind of been ahead of the curve. Now, I also want you to look at it in the sense of this is the internal needs or wants of the individual, in this case, the nation. And when I see an Aquarius moon here, then with the Cancer sun, I believe the intentions were pure in a sense of wanting to be a connector, wanting to be a connector, wanting to have be a place in which others can come to. So that I do see that, and therefore and be nurtured and be able to raise and therefore nurture others. So I get that as a part of the plan, but we're talking about the moon, right? Emotions, nurturing, relating. What is Aquarius? It's attached. It's airy. It's kind of, what have you done for me lately? Or how can you help me achieve what I need to do? You know what I mean? It's the 11th house. So kind of uh, uh, a love that's conditional to an extent. So the next interesting part of this chart deals with the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Cancer. Now, I just want to say, like, I'm an astrologer. So keep in mind that many of these founding fathers were also Masons and astrologers. So they had an idea of the influence that they wanted. And what would further be a good omen to line it up with the sign at this time is that with Jupiter becoming the chart ruler and then being conjunct with Venus, you're getting both influences. So what this is representing is an expansion of fourth house things, an expansion of comfort and convenience. In another vein, hopes once again for emotional connections with fellow man. Keeping in mind that who's to say that they envisioned where it is now? They made the intent here could have been very linear or small in comparison to what it actually manifested to. So part of the American issue, which we'll further see in the chart with the racism and stuff, is not knowing how to relate and, in a sense, being unwilling to change from tradition, okay, to be mutable, to ascend to Sagittarius rise. Ultimately, we're getting there. We're on that path, but I believe that this part of the abundance and the hopes and how it was envisioned was a little smaller than what they got, or yeah, basically what we got. But yeah, when you look at this is comfort. It's comfort. It's one. It's the two benefacts together. So and then here is also giving, and because the moon is ruling it, it's giving also an expansion of those things. Okay. Next interesting part, just linking it here. So Sagittarius, the original ninth house, Neptune here in the ninth, conjunct in midheaven. America is known as the place you journey to, the place where you journey to for what? Where your dreams can come true, right? So kind of funny how that, and how does it come through? How does it come true? Now, this is a funny part too. And anybody I think who has family in another country, there's a big misconception about America, particularly here with this Virgo aspect. They, outside of the country, depending on where your family's from, they might have an ideology that money kind of does grow on trees over here, that we don't actually work as hard as we do, that once we get here it's all good. But no, that's not the reality. So really let that part digest right there. Okay. So then we look at the trine from this Neptune in the ninth to the Pluto in the second, which represents, if you work hard enough, your dreams do come true. And that dreams and hard work and the pursuit of the American dream, which in a sense is A sense of, oh shit, like the American dream. White picket fence. Yeah, America. It's interesting. But when you work hard enough, your dreams do come true to an extent. It's material in nature, but then according to the individual, those individual material dreams materialize different ways. And I say it in a sense it's beautiful because keep in mind some of our best athletes, entertainers, whether it's by their parent getting the opportunity or them getting the opportunity of being born, they got to get here some way, right? And from there, the that Pluto gets materialized for each individual. So, as I was saying, alluding before in my toast to Pluto, we all asked to be here. We all asked to be here. We know why we want to be here. It fits our soul in some way. All right. So then I get to the really important parts of this chart. Actually, I was going to jump, but let me do this. This Pluto is opposing this Mercury, and this is key because this Mercury is ruling over this Mars and is ruling over this Uranus. Okay, so then the really close aspects here in America's chart, it exemplifies so much. Mars square Neptune here is a superficial way of relating. I sense an uncomfortableness because of the fixed nature of the moon, which rules the sun, which is cardinal, territorial. The country seeks expansion, but isn't necessarily comfortable with that or necessarily know how to relate to what is different or learned, right? They're not learning well on how to adapt to others. But in time, we get there and things of that nature. But then this Uranus, too, here in this particular position also it amplifies this Sagittarius rising, adding to that melting pot aspect of why America isn't limited in the sense of culture. So it adds more to the melting pot. So then just adding on it more with that ruling the Mars and opposing this Pluto, it's within the nature of the people to be mistrustful of anything new or foreign to them. Okay? After all, Gemini is the 12th place of Cancer. So, with this opposition here, it really is indicating an instinctive bias. Okay? And then lastly, Sun square Saturn, which depending on how you look at it. Now, this Pluto here, as we see in our Pluto return, government, the leaders who founded this thing, that position is very much so in a full transformation. It's far removed from what it once was, almost like a loss of legacy in the sense or prestige in that way. But the sun square Saturn to me represents goes into the hard work aspect, kind of like the hard life where it could. I see it as the haves and the have-nots because Saturn is exalted, so it's like, and then there's a degree of fortune dealing with the Jupiter, Saturn, karma, the wheel of fortune, all of these things. So you kind of get that your hand in life. In America, that's accentuated. If you're born into it, it's going to be a little bit easier. If you make one of the keys here is making the correct connections. But it also shows a fundamental flaw in regards to governing, okay, and those in power. And frankly, how I see it, and when it goes back here to the Cancer, it's a fundamental difference from Pisces or 12th house. Everybody's only out for their own. They only care about their own versus what the actual intent is. And sometimes things get warped like that. But it's a journey, right? And another Pluto return is about to be in the book. So this is my interpretation and breakdown of the chart of the United States. Feel free to chime in. Let me know what you think. We'll do some more of these. Till next time, peace.